Stop. Don't revert to scaling an outreach campaign as the key to your solution when you're trying to generate more leads. So one of the often go-tos of a campaign is, cool, let's scale it. Scaling is the answer. Let's go from 1 email a day to 10 emails a day to 100 emails a day to 1,000 emails a day. Let's do that because that's going to provide the answer. We had a client who determined that because the copy that was produced ultimately couldn't speak towards case studies, couldn't speak towards company history, couldn't speak towards clear USPs, meant that scaling was a solution to spray and pray. Now, even when companies do have case studies and do have content and do have company history, they also often say, well, let's just scale and send more messages. So one of the go-tos when it comes to the clients that we work with, and this can also apply, by the way, to not only outreach campaigns, so I'm talking cold calls, I'm talking LinkedIn, I'm talking cold email. It also can apply to clients that want to scale ads with us. So they want to run PPC, they want to run meta ads, and they want to add more fuel to the fire, and or they want to build more backlinks. So scale is the answer. Okay. And scale can, of course, often produce net more results, or can they? What I want to communicate today is that this often go-to is a really unproductive way to generate growth for your company, because yes, you can generate more leads that way. Yes, you can generate more sales, but in doing so, you would also cause yourself quite a significant amount of damage that will be very difficult for you to repair. Scaling is not the answer until you find a methodology that does work not at scale. So what you actually want to improve is your ratio of return, your return ratio when it comes to any lead generation activity that you go and pursue, is to make sure that you've got some really, for example, expertly refined copy. So what you actually want to do when it comes to testing is split testing. So why not have 10 different split tests for 10 different email sequences to, for example, the same target market? So you've got 10 different campaigns. You've got a sequence with, for example, 100 prospects, 10 per campaign, and then you can split test titles, you can split test subject lines, you can split test the main body, and then see what result that produces. And then slowly begin to scale up the outreach after you do that. Most people are not prepared to put in the work that's required to do that, because that then means you need to produce 10 different pieces of copy. That then means you need to monitor 10 different sets of results. That then means you might not get the result that you want immediately, because volume, you believe, will provide the key insight, the key result, when actually volume masks incompetency. If I knock on 100 doors, okay, if I am Furious Frank and I want to furiously go door knocking to sell, for example, tickets to the local fair, there's a local fair, there's going to be a charity event at the local fair, and entry to the fair is £5, and I want to sell fundamentally tickets to go to the fair, I can door knock 100 times and have a pitch of something to the effect of, hey, it's Furious Frank, I'm selling tickets to an event, would love you to come. Hey, it's Furious Frank, I'm selling tickets to the local event, would love you to come. Okay. Now, what often happens when you, for example, launch 1,000 emails? Let's keep it simple. 100 emails. So let's equate that to 100 door knocks. Okay, 100 door knocks, and you have that same pitch across those 100 door knocks. Hey, it's Furious Frank. Would love you to buy a ticket for the local fair. Hey, it's Furious Frank. Would love you to buy a ticket to the local fair. Hey, it's etc., etc. Now imagine you've got the 100 doors and you send out that same message. Let's say it's an AI bot that goes out to the same 100 to the 100 doors at the same time, versus breaking it down 10 door by 10 door by 10 door, and Furious Frank for the first 10 doors uses that same copy. Hey, it's Furious Frank, would love you to buy a ticket for the local fair, it's £5. Bucket number one. Bucket number two. Hey, Furious Frank here. So I just wanted to see if you would be interested, because I noticed that you live just down the road from us, to our local fair where we're also running a charity event. It's £5 per ticket. We'd love for you to join. Versus, hey, Furious Frank here. Are you someone who's ever experienced cancer in your family? Well, look, I'm trying to raise money for charity, and there's an event at our local fair. It's £5 to come. If it's something that's ever affected you, would really appreciate your support. Versus a, hey, Furious Frank here. We've got a fair that's coming up. There's fun fair rides. There's bumper carts. I see you might have some children. Why don't you come along? It's just £5 to come along to the event. So that's 4 different split tests. So imagine now having 10 that you run at the same time to the same audience and then seeing what result that you get versus sending the same message to 100 people. Now, the work in scenario 2, most people don't want to do. And then most people fail with the results that they get, and they wonder why they're failing with the results that they get. And this impacts every aspect of your business, what you want to optimize for, okay? And it relates to everything, the videos that I record, the content that you produce, the emails that you send out, the traffic that comes to your website, the sales conversations you go into. Optimize for engagement, active feedback, okay? So not likes, not comments, not opens, but replies, Q&A, questions. Questions and active comments determine true engagement, because the rest of it can be glass-eyed, clickbait, click like, click like, click like, click share, click view. Engagement is what we want to optimize for. Comments in the comment thread, people reaching out to you on DMs, emails going out, and then decision makers coming back to you via maybe your website or a LinkedIn inbox. That is what we need to optimize for. And when we're measuring that as a metric, it's inherently more challenging. It's inherently more difficult to get that first reply. And then what people want to do to accelerate the rate of replies is to add fuel to the fire and add volume, because of course then you can count on getting some level of replies if you're sending out the 100 emails at once with the same message, because it's inherently quicker to do. No one wants to do the work. No one wants to go deep. No one wants to go slow. Go deep. Analyze the sets of split tests that you have, the copies that you have, the messaging that you're sending out, and then test in a disciplined, methodical, logical, rigorous way to ensure that you have a comprehensive data set of different messaging with different tones, with the same end goal to get engagement, to get someone to potentially be interested in using your services. Do that first. Take the time that's required. We preach this so much because you look at the campaigns at work, and it's those who go slow to go fast and then apply scale. Once you see, or once you determine the result, that then you're able to really run successful campaigns, okay? And I also see many people that get, and this is the second part that comes of it, because what's going to happen is that you'll have the, let's see if I can get the focus back. It'll come back in its own time. I probably need to turn the autofocus off, although it's an autofocus webcam that I'm using, Nurom, Nuroum. But what tends to happen then is it's so easy to lose discipline along the way, and then as a consequence to have undisciplined campaigns, because some of you are going to get motivated and some of you are going to say either that I have a rigorous body of split tests that I run, and then once you see you've got a winning campaign, we're back, you then say, okay, great, that is the campaign that I scale, therefore I should stop testing. That's where we get it wrong. Pardon me, guys. I'm trying to see if my audio is back. Hopefully it is, but just in case, I'm going to switch audio. Bear with me, bear with me. So testing on a continuous basis needs to be key to any campaign that you run. Because if you're not able to test continuously, then you're going to fall into the world of diminishing returns. And what happens is that people can abide by what we just discussed because they split test at the beginning, but then discipline gets lost. So lead generation is only as good as your ability to optimize for the correct result. And the correct result that you want to optimize for is active engagement. Every other metric is a secondary metric. It is not the metric you want to optimize for, because the result that you want to get as a consequence is leads that come in and then sales. And the quality of the leads will be determined by the quality of the engagement that you get back. And a like and a message or a view or an open and a click are approximations of it. The closest thing is he's asking good questions. He booked in a call. He submitted a contact us form. These are the things that we need to make sure that we optimize for. And the way that you do that is split testing. So there are tools for all of these things, right? You might be running Google ads. You might be looking at Meta. You might be looking at TikTok. You might be looking at a lead form. You might be looking at YouTube content. You might be looking at inbound inquiries via SEO. It's engagement that determines the outcome. And on all of those platforms, the thing that remains consistent is the quality of the communication that comes across. And the truth is, and this is where you need to test, as we do with these videos, is understand what is the type of messaging, what is the type of content, what is the type. Hey, hi, ho. Okay. Sorry, guys, this audio thing is being problematic. Hopefully it's still working. So as we can see here, it's the communication and the consistency of that testing. As I'm even testing these videos in terms of the setup, I'm just using Zoom. I need to move to OBS. I've got a blue snowball mic. It seems to interrupt the audio and it switches at some point. So I've just installed Pop Shield. Let's just see if I can show you there. And I'm sitting in my pants as I do this, probably something else that I need to change. Continuously split testing to optimize for the result that drives the most engagement. Okay. And that's what is a big failure of fundamentally the lead generation activities that I do see that companies go upon. And that's why scaling is not the answer when it comes to lead generation. That Oh, sorry guys about this, but optimizing and split testing is really the most critical key when it comes to successive campaigns. I think I figured it out. It was too near the laptop. Let's see if that fixes it. So you always, and there you go. Look, see, you must always be optimizing and learning as you go along. And the work required to do that is hard. Most people don't want to do it because it's hard. It's difficult to do. There's lots of small iterative continuous tests. So continuous process improvement is really the key when it comes to the success of any of your lead generation campaigns. And I use lead generation in the broadest context, okay? So lead generation can happen on any platform and any mechanism. The way that we're able to get something in the region of 500 to 700 inquiries a month is because we are always testing. And not all of our tests work out. Most of them fail. Most of the things that I experiment with and try doesn't work. Most of it doesn't. In the main, 80 to 90% of the things that I will try do not work. It is day and month and day, week, month, year that's riddled with failure. But the wins massively outdo the failures because you test at such a velocity that fundamentally you only need to optimize to ensure that one thing works. And when that one thing works, you can add it to your arsenal, and that can produce generally an outsized income, an outside return on investment. But that only comes if you are able to test and to analyze those measures enough. So rather than applying volume to a singular test, have multiple small tests, and this applies in every element, everything, have multiple small tests, and then as a consequence, you can see which test fundamentally is driving the most return. And think about what this practically means in a email sequence. You have email 1, email 2, email 3 in one sequence, and then you'll have a this is A, and then you can have B, and then you can have C, and then you can have D, and you can run campaigns with all of those elements and just ensure that each of those campaigns have different messaging. But you have to ensure that the copy is set up appropriately. You have to ensure that the mail merges are correct. You have to ensure that you've got the SPF, DKIM, DMARC, domain, 301 redirect if you're using a secondary cold email domain, email signatures, the website that they go to, the fonts, and no embedded HTML HTML and no unnecessary additional links. You have to ensure all of that is in place across all of the different split tests before you launch. So doing that is much, much easier said than done. And this is why many campaigns will fail, because it's easier to just say, let's send 1,000 emails a day. Let's just do that. And that's going to be what's going to see us to success. And when you apply scale, and here's the kicker that comes with scale, is that you often then dilute the thinking that's attached to that scale, because you haven't applied the necessary thought and thinking attached to that campaign up front, because it's a psychological salve, I can breathe moment, because you do see some replies come in from certain campaigns when you do apply a scale. And then if we think and go back to Furious Frank can knock on 100 doors with the same message and get 4 people coming to the event who pay. So he could say, I knocked on 100 doors, I got 4 people that came, £20 return on investment. 2 of them then spent a further £10 each. So that's £40 return on at the fair for the charity. So that's a £40 return on investment on my 1,000 emails, and it cost me £30, £20. But then Furious Frank also pissed off 50 of the people that he messaged because the messaging wasn't right. He didn't optimize for the appropriate return. The £40 return on investment could have been £400 with the proper split testing. And then what happened was that as Frank scaled it, hopefully this is still okay. I need to figure this out. But as Furious Frank scaled it, he then fundamentally pissed off a lot of people along the way. And it did then, in the end, affect his return. So on that note, given this might have dodgy audio, scaling lead generation activities is most often actually not the answer, because what you want to do first of all is ensure that you've done the proper split testing, the proper thinking, the proper strategic critical looks at the copy, the A/B testing, all of those elements to ensure that you can optimize for replies. That is the metric that you want when it comes to anything that you put out there or anything that you send out online.